and experiences as carriers of information and dissemination. You discover that this day, which is May 3rd every year since 1994, has been set aside as a World Press Freedom, and it is a day to appreciate the work and contributions of journalists to the development of society, and a day to defend the media from attacks. From 1994 to now has been about 30 years now, and if you reflect backward, you will see that the media had played a great role in championing even the democracy that we are enjoying today in Nigeria. At a point in time when even civil society organizations have thrown in the towel, the press continued to press on until when the military relinquished power and were condemned perpetually to the barracks. And I believe that they will remain so till eternity. You discover that in those years of military rule, the press had pressed consistently on the military, on the need to give greater freedom to the men of the pen to also return the country to democratic rule in the case of Nigeria. And so it was also in the case of other countries. But in our own situation, we saw also a friendly military administration led by General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, who also gave greater freedom and autonomy to the media, because it is through him that we saw for the first time the establishment of, or rather, the decree that gave the establishment of private media outfits. If not for Babangida, even private organizations like Prestigefm wouldn't have existed probably. And of course, that had also given greater freedom to the press to actually go about gathering and disseminating information. And since that time, the Nigerian media space had enjoyed relative freedom. And even the democracy that is championed by the media is now greatly a threat to media freedom, because here we are in a democratic setting, but with also public office holders who are intolerant of the media and of course the journalists. Over the years, we've seen how public office holders, especially political office holders, have become impatient and intolerant with many of the information that the media is churning out to the public. Hence, the threats of subjugation as well as suppression of men of the pen. We can cite so many examples that have happened in the course of this program. Till today, no one can tell you where Kaltungo is. And of course, he simply left home and bade his wife and family that he's going to work and come back. But till today, give an account of his whereabouts. And this was because at the time, he was pursuing a very sensitive story that the authorities at that time threatened him to drop or otherwise. But of course, you know, he went on to continue with his investigation, and today he's missing. He has got lost and no one knew where he is. Exactly. We've seen severally too where democratic government that have enjoined the services of media have also threatened and sometimes even went ahead to close down a media outfit simply because the information that the media outfit is churning out did not go down well with them. And we've seen how public office holders have come out shamelessly to deny media information and engage themselves in war of words with members of the media, despite convincing evidences to show that that story is a result of a carefully orchestrated investigation from the reporter. But over the years, you know, like I said, men of the pen cannot be shut down. Men of the pen cannot be threatened. No matter how much the threat is, we still go about doing our businesses because that is what we know how to do best. That is what we are trained to do. That is our profession, and that is what we'll continue to do till God says come. And even in Niger State here, we've seen so many examples of that, how some media people have found themselves at loggerheads with public office holders as a result of one story or the other. So in all of this, you realize that press freedom is very important, because the press is also a critical stakeholder in development. If you have politicians without the press, of course what you have in place is simply a draconian administration. But you should rather have a press even if you don't have a government. The people will be rest assured that they are being fed with genuine information on a daily basis, and they will all know how to go about protecting themselves when they go out of their comfort zones, rather than to have a government that is unfriendly to the press, where the members of the society are being kept in darkness as to what is happening in governance. And of course, over the years, again, we've seen so many achievements that have been recorded by members of the press. In this year's theme, journalism in an environmental challenging situation, of course, today we have a lot of environmental challenges, ranging from climate change to unhealthy situations in so many countries like Sudan, Somalia, even in Palestine, and so many other climes of the world where people have not known peace over the years, and even in some part of Nigeria too, where we've had issues with banditry, with kidnappings. These are all challenging environments that needed the media so as to help in safeguarding the lives and properties of people, and to also help in development. And that is why this year's theme is focusing on challenging environments. The rainy season is just setting in. Definitely issues of climate change have become a recurring decimal since 2005, when the Kyoto Agreement was signed, where industrialized worlds have made a commitment to chunk out about $1 billion annually to help developing nations who are the recipient of most of these environmental disasters. Till today, industrialized nations have not been able to fulfill their commitment. And developing nations like Nigeria have always been at the receiving end. Flooding, of course, desertification, and so many other environmental hazards have greeted the environments of developing nations. And that is why journalism today is greatly needed by people that are living in most of this hazardous environment, so that they can be given information that will help in protecting them and protecting their properties as well. So you can see that journalism is playing a great role as far as protecting the environment is concerned, as far as also contributing to development is concerned. What is left now on a day like this is usually a reminder to governments around the world to be more tolerant of the media, and to also show encomiums on men of the pen, on the job that they have done in the last 1 year, and the challenges that lay ahead in the next 1 year. These are usually the purpose for which a day like this is set aside. And I believe that a journalist in Nigeria, wherever he is proudly and is very proud of what he has done in the last 1 year. And of course, a day like this would actually only reaffirm his commitment to even do more in ensuring that we have the requisite development that we needed in our society, especially in this challenging situation of Nigeria, where we have issues of fuel subsidy removal, skyrocketing prices of commodities, and so many other issues that have made situations more worse to an average Nigerian. And you can see that today in Nigeria, people are grappling to put food on the table, not to talk of attending to other competing demands that actually needed the attention of the breadwinner. And today, again, we've also had a lot of Nigerians who have been consumed by environmental disasters. And shortly after they have been consumed, their children are orphaned, their wives are widowed by some of these disasters. Banditry is a key example.
And illegal mining, which is also affecting Niger State as well.
And cattle rustling too is also part of some of these disasters that have greeted the Niger State environment, if we have to narrow it down. But again, it should also serve as a reminder to people of the cabinet, especially in the Niger State government, to be more tolerant of the media, so that we can all carry Niger State as an entity together, them as public servant, we also as public servant, to ensure that people are adequately informed, because an informed individual has greater capacity to do things in a custom way and to understand the challenges before him and how to go about surmounting these challenges so that he can equally be a functional member of Niger State.
You see, journalists in Nigeria have to contend with dual issue of what are they reporting for? Is it for the public interest? If they report content for the public interest, some might said it has grave danger for the national security. So how can journalists really navigate the issue of reporting for covering information for public interest and national security?
Well, right from journalism school, every journalist who have gone through journalism school have been told about these three key principles of reporting. That is public safety, public health, and public morality. These are the three aspects upon which a reporter should write his story. It's either you are writing for to safeguard public safety, or to safeguard public health, or to safeguard public morality. When you have these three key things behind your mind, you will be able to write an impeccable story that cannot be challenged anywhere. And that is why professionalism have to come in here. When you write about this, your story will not be a threat to national security. And of course, national interests must also have been taken care of. And in most situations, I cannot say all journalists are accurate as far as their reportings are concerned. Of course, you can have some gray areas. But this could also be sometimes as a result of personal sentiment that is likely to come into one's storytelling.
Biases that has to do with media.
Yes, that are related to the media. But again, for every journalist, he should know that first and foremost, objectivity is the watchword. If you are objective in your writing, you will be able to meet these three key things that I have highlighted: public health, public safety, and public morality. And for the public office holders too, they must also understand that national interest is key. Where a news story is addressing national interest, of course, issues of personal interest have to be submerged. And this is one thing that most public office holders are yet to come to terms with. You write your story, and a public office holder felt that his office has been, the image of his office has been tarnished, or his personal image has been tarnished as a result of that news story. And
despite the story
being factual, and he decided to take an action against the journalist. I believe that if public office holders are enlightened about this, it will go a long way in helping both the journalist and the government to work in pari passu, so that there could be that room for development. As it is now, you can see that the media space is gradually shrinking. Journalists are not having the kind of freedom that they had anticipated to get when democracy came, even though they fought for this democracy. The media space is shrinking. It is gradually becoming more suffocating again to the journalists. Journalists have not been given enough room to breathe fresh air so that they can do their work unhindered. Many public office holders are very uncomfortable with the journalist, and that is not the way to go. And that is why you realize that when you have information that is key to the public, you have to say it the way it is. That is one thing that public office holders must understand. But again, if there are dissenting opinions as regard to that news story, there's also a way of going about it, not to suffocate, subjugate the journalist, or threaten the journalist on why he decided to file in such kind of report. Any threat cannot kill journalism at all. If journalism will have died, it will have died with the military. But of course, journalism fought the military to a standstill. And today the military is in the barrack, journalism is in the society. And so you can see that you as a public office holder whose tenure is even counted, you spend 4 years, at most 8 years, you are gone. And journalism will still remain. And they will continue to write about you till eternity. If you do very well, they write good things about you. If you cheat the society, they write bad things about you until you are brought to book and brought to justice as well. So you can see that no one can fight journalism. If you think you can fight journalism, you can only continue to do what you can do while you are still in office. But when you leave office, you become very free and you become very vulnerable, and the media can tear you apart the way it wanted to. So I believe that both the government and the media are partners in progress. They are partners when it comes to issues of development. And this is where government must also be transparent and be accountable for all what it has done to members of the public, because the media is there as a watchdog to see what both the government, the legislators, and the judiciary are doing. That is why it is referred to as the watchdog. It is the most superior of all the arms of government, because it watches over all the other arms of government. Both the executive, the judiciary, and the legislators, they are under the watchful eyes of the media. And the media will report whatever they are doing to members of the public, because all these three arms are answerable to the public.
Okay, since the media role is of the watchdog and of course feeding the society of what is really happening in all sectors of the government, how about the issue of gagging the media? We knew in a state in Nigeria where there was an executive order that the people or political appointees and elected officials shouldn't talk to the media without clearance. Is it part of gagging the media? And sometimes we find out that journalists don't have easy access to information. You talked about the government being transparent, and and in Nigeria we're talking about open government policies here and there. But still, the media has to contend with that. You have reports, you are going to verify it, more information. They won't even respond.
Yes,
is it part of gagging the media apart from the professional bodies?
Exactly. This is one of the major and contentious issues that we've had in recent times. That is hoarding of information. Most government functionaries are not willing to speak to the media. And this
except if it is for their own benefit.
Except for their own benefit. And this is one of the major drawbacks to transparency in governance. Because if, as a public office holder, you refuse to talk to the media, you are given room for speculative journalism. You are given room for yellow journalism. You are given room for so many other misinformation that could be chunked out to the public. Because if in the course of investigating a matter and a public office holder who is in possession of this information decide to hoard it on the ostensible reason that a sitting executive had directed that no government functionary should talk to the media, then he's simply hoarding that information. And damaging stories could be the result of that action. So there's always the need for sitting governors, executives, wherever they are, to always give directives to their subordinates, to speak to the media to the best of their abilities, so that members of the public will not be kept in the darkness, so that speculative information will not be going around, and fake news will also be reduced to the barest. These are some of the situations. And for you as a journalist, you can also do fact check. You fact check your story to ensure that the story you are pursuing, so far what you have done is the right information. Even if the other person is holding his information, there should be some kind of indices that will help you to go to the press, even though your information is not complete. Technically, there's a way you can go to the press, and probably that going to the press will motivate that individual who is holding information to come out and give you the remainder part of the information you've been looking for. So, I mean, it is uncalled for any government to give directive to members of the cabinet to hold information, because talking to the journalist also helps in bringing in good governance. In Nigeria, it is already an act of the National Assembly, open government policy. The idea is to give room for journalists to access more information.
And we have freedom of information.
Freedom of information too, even though they said access to information. So a journalist should be able to access information as at when due, so that he will be able to write a palatable story, and for any public office holder who is not doing the writing should be exposed. So many people who were thieves in the past, who have cleaned the treasury, are today working freely and are being revered. They are being respected simply because the media never had information that it required to go to the press about their misdeed while in the office. We have seen overnight Pontimentum millionaires who are civil servants. They are civil servants, and when you look at their salaries, you know that they can never have the kind of asset that they had. They can never have the kind of money that they have in the banks. They can never have some of the luxuries that they have put around them if they are to depend on their salaries and even their allowances. And yet, nobody is checkmating them. Nobody is asking questions. Even the government, too, is too complacent, too lazy to call them to books, despite the fact that they have become super civil servants in Nigeria today. So I believe that public office holders should be ready to give out information. There is what we call, I have forgotten the terminology now, but you hide your source of information. And there is no journalist today that will expose his source of information. And when you should always have confidence in the journalist, especially when he approaches you. We've had situations here, even in Niger State, during when the issues of ecological fund came in. You know, that time the idea, of course, Niger State has been penciled among those states that are being ravaged by flooding. And when the ecological fund came in, Niger State was a beneficiary. We had issues at the time, but public office holders were never willing to speak to the journalist. And that was why everything went down the drain and nobody knew what that money was used for. And today, Niger State is still facing the issues of flooding. Communities are being sacked as a result of flooding, and nobody appears to be saying anything. And every year, there is always ecological fund that is accruing to Niger State. So we need to ask a lot of questions as to what this money is meant for. We also had issues of humanitarian as a result of internally displaced persons. What are these monies used for? And to what extent have the humanitarian fund been utilized in bringing succor to those who are affected by the crisis, especially armed banditry, kidnapping, and so many other things that have devastated our environment. So these are some of the issues that we need to have. You as a public office holder, if you hold information and refuse to give journalists and allow them access to this information, the society will continue to suffer. One day, your own community will be sacked by flooding or by some other environmental hazard. At that time, when you will need the journalist to bring your community to the fore, the journalist will turn its back on you, because you also turn your back on the journalist at the time when it needed you. It's the same way again when you have, for example, quackery in some professional aspects, such as health, for example. If you refuse to expose this quackery, one day a product of that quackery will be the one to attend to you in the hospital or to attend to your relatives in the village. So you can see what goes around will always come around. You may think that you are safe by approving schools that have no requisite requirement, and at the end of the day, they produce quacks as health officials. And these health officials will not go back home and sit. They will go to public health centers and work. And your own relatives are the ones who will patronize them. And you realize that whatever hazard that is likely to occur will also affect your own relative. You as a public office holder who refuse to align with journalism to expose some of these situations. So these are the whole thing that we need to look at in a challenging environment like ours. So a day like this is set aside to remind government on the need to be tolerant with journalism, with journalists, and to also remind journalists about their stewardship in the last 1 year, and of course the challenges that lay ahead of them in the next 1 year.
All right, 0903-880-8883 is the number to call in. Of course, make your comments, or you can post your comments on our Facebook page, Prestige FM Mina, and we're streaming live on our Facebook page, Prestigefm91.7mx, and on YouTube, Prestigefm91.7mx, and on radio app, prestigefmradio.org.ng. Let's read some comments on our Facebook page. Umar Dan Azmi, he's saying, good morning. Most Nigerians were in the dark, but now no more. All thanks to Prestige FM. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Umar Dan Azmi. Sani Baban Sani, he's saying, good morning. Okay, Prestige FM, yeah, okay. I wish you the best. May Allah continue giving you more blessings, our radio station. May God help you. And Dr. Antala, thank you. Okay, Sani Baban Sani. Hadiza Yunus, good morning to you. Good morning to you too. Thank you. Hello, good morning. Morning. Okay. 0903-880-8883. We are celebrating the World Press Freedom Day. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Ajia Memuna.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Dantala.
Good morning, sir.
Happy World Press Freedom Day.
Same to you. Thank you so much.
I think Ajia Memuna, Dr. Dantala have said it all. Were you journalists given the enabling environment to take out your responsibility from the government and from the citizenry? Is a question to you, Dr. Dantala. But I think this is a society where we are. Whenever the journalists went out to take reports, sometimes what you have is that we have not been given clearance, or we have not been given opportunity to talk to you. And this is also a state where we are, where whenever there is a problem from a particular MDE, when you try to access information from the public relations officer, they will tell you the commissioner or the permanent secretary, who is the administrative head, has not been given them permission to talk. What is the work of public relations officers, especially in Niger State? I think this is also a state where we are, where a broad Hausa journalist was embarrassed at the seat of government, where there was a crisis at PG, and he was trying to balance his information before coming to air, just the way you do in Prestige FM. He was trying to balance the information, and he was embarrassed by the Commissioner of Internal Affairs in the state. I'm talking of a person of Alaji and most of Anasiru Batari. I think all those things ought to have not take place. When journalists come to your place to access information, try to give them the enabling information. But just the way you said it, Dr. Nantala, the only time you see them accessing information to you is that when the thing is at their own gain, especially politicians. If you see them coming to air to talk, it's something they will take advantage of. But if you have to be called to come and explain to the citizen what is particularly happening in your ministry or department or agency, you will see them dodging, saying they have no clearance, they have no this and this. But I think this is the time they need to know that information need to be managed and also being investigated, and then back to you to come and disseminate the information to the people on air. So I think they need to give you an enabling environment to take out your responsibility and do the needful so that the people will know what the government is all about. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Doctor, let's talk about safety of journalists or media practitioners, both online and in real life. Because just the instances he gave here, some were personally attacked, verbally, some psychological, and what have you, and some it is online that people are attacking them here and there, receiving threats here and there because of a particular story that journalists or media practitioners dish out to the public. How can people of the press really survive this turbulent water of ensuring their personal safety on and offline?
Yes, this is because the government have not been so committed to favoring journalists when it comes to issues like this. And that is why journalists have always remained vulnerable to attack by both government officials and even members of the public. at every point in time, if you are a journalist and you pursue a story that didn't go down well with the government officials, the official will use all privileges and powers behind him to subjugate such kind of journalists. And again, sometimes the media outfit too is too complacent to come to the aid of the journalist himself, and hence the reporter is left at the mercy of
even
the
professional, that is in some
holder.
case.
Yes, even professionally sometimes. So there is the need for the Nigerian Union of Journalists and all other umbrella bodies of journalism to be more committed to protecting journalists wherever they are. You can see, for example, if you look at the Nigerian Bar Association, it has always come to the protection of lawyers at every point in time, especially where a lawyer appears to have been maltreated by anybody in the society, be it a government official or any other member of the public. So in this situation, we are expecting more commitment from the government to ensure that lives, properties, and relatives of journalists are always protected, rather than using them as weak points to threaten the journalists. Most of the times, a journalist's fear has always been about his family, about his children, about his wife, about his relatives, both close and distant ones. When you begin to direct threats at them, you definitely break his courage. But if the threat is just on him alone, that would have been a different thing entirely. But you realize that most government officials today will go a long way, sometimes even to threaten his means of livelihood. And these situations, these are the kind of threats that shouldn't have happened in the first place. Because when you threaten an individual's means of livelihood, it means that you can take his life. And if that is happening to a journalist, I think it is not auguring well in an environment like ours. And that is even where I also fault UNESCO, who is the chief organizer of this World Press Freedom Day. You can see that this year's celebration is done in Santiago, Chile. And we just hope that one day this celebration will be brought to Nigeria. Even if for nothing, it will help to heighten awareness among Nigerians on the issue of press freedom, among governments too, on the issue of press freedom, and also among journalists. But as it is now, it is happening elsewhere, and we are here celebrating it, and the government that is supposed to be aware of this is also having its ears elsewhere. And that is why you see that shortly after this celebration, the awareness will not be there. And government public office holders will continue to do what they are used to doing. But we just hope that the judiciary too will rise up to the occasion anytime we had issues with government officials where it could not be resolved amicably and we have to go to court. We've seen it happen, and we hope that fair hearing like this will continue to happen. It happens to the Punch reporters, to the Nation's reporter who was subjugated and was threatened. And of course, she went to court and she was able to win the case. So if something like this is happening, I think it will encourage journalism, because journalism affects everyone. You never knew when journalism will come to your aid. So if you as a government official think that because you are in already, you don't need the media, one day you will be out. And when you will need the media will not be there for you.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, Ajami Muna. I still remain comrade calling back.
All right.
Yes, sir.
I think part of the success you had as a journalist, I think there was a journalist who was able to investigate substandard College of Health in person of Nuruddin Isa Kudaza. I think I have to commend him for doing a very nice job. And he was able to bring to the government covers that most of these schools have substandard and they are not licensed. And then secondly, I think someone from Niger State, also a reporter, was able to go on underground investigative journalism, I think at Cotonou,
yes,
on this certificate radicalism. And he was able to also go and do this investigation And the federal government was also be able to know that this kind of things they do by having a 3-month certificate in degree. So I think this is part of your successes. And I think the government needs to give you another environment to do more job so that you can bring to our notice all what is going on. So that journalism won't be about what they say, neither than what it is. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. You see, the part of the challenges that journalists face is the risks associated with investigative journalism or reportage, where some have to put their lives online in order to uncover something that someone else wants to cover. Apart from that, we had issues of journalists just focusing on what those in authority said, not going beyond the statement or covering events of the public officers. How can journalists really fare in that aspect in view of what is happening currently, environmental crisis?
Yes, this has to do with issues of objectivity now in storytelling. Many journalists have simply made the profession a money-making venture where they have become more of press singers than storytellers. Most of the times, many of these journalists are the ones who you see perambulating around the corridors of government and will always write good things about public office holders. Sometimes even brandishing a public office holder has been the best since the creation of man. And you know, sometimes even if the wife of the governor changes her veil, such kind of journalists are quick to write. Yesterday she wore a red one, today she's wearing a blue veil. So this kind of journalists are not journalists at all, and they are simply people who are just looking for their daily breads and are not writing objective stories. And you realize that when you go through their writings, none of their writings is the result of investigations at all. They are mostly writing, praising the persona and trying to see how they can woo him so that they can get the little stipend that he can give them. And these are the ones that readily go with yellow envelope all the time. I mean, the brown envelope are kind of a journalist. But we hope that as we move on now professionally, and as the space is becoming more professional, such kind of journalists will be brought to book. And if they are professionals, they could also be reprimanded about their mode of writing. And nobody said you shouldn't write good stories about an individual, especially if such an individual had made a meaningful commitment to the development of the society. But again, it shouldn't be one style of writing such that he's been identified with that kind of writing.
All right. Umar Azmi on our Facebook page, good morning. Thank you. God bless the press. Baba Kura Aninigi, World Press Freedom Day, celebrated on May 3rd every year to raise awareness about the importance of press freedom and to remind governments of their duty to respect and uphold the rights to freedom of expression. The day also honors the journalists who have lost their lives in the line of duty in 2024. Okay, we have done that. Okay, it is also served as a platform for advocating for greater safeguards for journalists and promoting the free flow of information in the society. As we celebrate the World Press Freedom Day, it is important to recognize the vital role that journalists play in holding power to account. And lastly, I want this precious Prestigefm to upload one of our highlights from achieving and backing the best undercover journalist of the year in person of Umar Audu, who exposed the purchase of the great certificate in Cotonou just less than 2 months ago. Yes, we shall encomium on him, Umar Audu, for that great achievement. Musa Yakubu, good morning. God bless you. I mean, Isaiah Asali, press is a bridge between government and masses. Press give voices to government, likewise masses, even though the government always want the press should be airtight interest. That is on what favors them. Happy World Press Freedom Day. Thank you, Isaiah Asali. Right, Honorable Amin Laden, as we celebrate World Press Freedom Day, we recognize the vital role that journalists and media professionals play in shaping our understanding of the world. Your tireless effort to seek truth, expose injustice, and amplify marginalized voices are a beacon of hope for a brighter future. We appreciate your dedication to holding those in power accountable and your commitment to telling the stories that need to be told. Your work is the cornerstone of a healthy democracy, and we are grateful for your services. Let us continue to work together to build a world where press freedom is cherished and the voices of all people are heard. Happy World World Press Freedom Day 2024. Right Honorable Aminu Laden. Thank you for that comment. Ibn Haruna Kusharki, thank you. The press over time has done well as the fourth estate of the Rhine. Through dissemination of accurate and objective stories that have brought positive changes in governance and even other endeavors of life. But it is unfortunate that highly disturbing the rate at which people don't seem to differentiate between who is a journalist and who is a blogger and who is an influencer or announcer. Knowing the differences will make the public appreciate the work of a journalist more. I have heard several people talk about how technology has made journalism become everyone's job. But of course, a well-trained journalist will always do it better and differently. This has become an area of concern and needs to be checked by authorities. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Haruna Kusharki. Comrade Muhammad Awal Umar, I would like to use this opportunity to congratulate journalists in the state, particularly for the enlightenment and creating awareness to the entire citizens. Doctor have said it all. More grace to your elbow. Happy World Press Freedom Day. Thank you, Comrade Muhammad Awal Umar. Ibrahim Hashim, good morning, Nigerites. World Press Freedom Day is a day to be celebrated. They are the ones who make everything transparent. Masood Opposer, we honor sacrifices made by journalists who have tragically lost their lives while fulfilling their duties to inform and enlighten the public. Doctor, we don't have much time. Let's wrap up the program. Celebrating them. What next?
Yes, the next thing is for government to be more tolerant to the media and to be more media friendly again and to avoid hoarding of information. And on the part of the journalists, they should always fact check before going to the press. All right,
fact checking is vital. Thank you for being part of the program Nigeria Today. You can join us tomorrow for a fresh package of the program. My name is Maimuna Muhammad Babangida saying good morning.